Orleans Humanist Perspective, presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claims of knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the New Orleans Humanist Perspective. My name is Charlotte Klasson, President of NOSHA, the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, the sponsor of this program, and I will be your host for today's show. Let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Harry Greenberger has a BA in accounting and an MA in psychology. He has served on boards or held office in New Orleans chapter of Louisiana CPAs, the French Quarter Business Association, the Alliance for Good Government, the Business and Professional Toastmasters Club, the Alliance for Affordable Energy, Louisiana Retailers Association, and the Greater New Orleans Casino Development Association. Over the years, he has addressed local Unitarian churches, the Godless American March in Washington, D.C., and the citywide Remembrance, Renewal, and Rebirth, a local Katrina anniversary event. Most importantly, and the reason he is here is he has served as president of NOSHA for 15 years and was the host of the NOAA TV show, The New Orleans Humanist Perspective, for 15 years until this past June, which is why I'm delighted to have him as our guest. And I think this is a first for you to be sitting on the guest side instead of in the hot seat here.
Charlotte, you don't know how happy I am that you are sitting in that chair.
Yes, I can imagine. Well, I realized that it was unique, and we didn't want to let that go. You need to be the guest. So. I thought since you've always talked to all of us about NOSHA, perhaps we could start with that, talking about the history or what you think is the most important thing to start with.
You'd like to know how I became involved with NOSHA?
Yes, why don't you tell us?
Well, it goes like this, and it was, quite a number of years back. A woman who had small children living in New Orleans, and she wanted to know if there was a humanist organization in the city, because she and her husband were non-believers, and they wanted an atmosphere where their children could grow up. She contacted the Humanist Association, and they said, no, we do not have an entity in New Orleans, but you can start one. They sent her a packet of materials how you could start a humanist organization. And then they sent out invitations to all the people who subscribed to their magazine to come to a meeting. And this meeting was at a library, a major library out on Veterans Highway, and I would say there were 12 to 15 people there. None of us knew the others. So we sat around, each one said who he was and what his interest was in humanism, and we got to know each other, but we were all really strangers. Well, the documents that were sent to this woman told you how to get an organization started, and they said the first thing you have to do is to select a president. Mm-hmm. And the woman who had brought us all together, she said, well, I want the organization, but I do not want to run it. Mm-hmm. And so we had been there for I don't know how long, and knew something about each other. And the man sitting next to me poked, and he said, "How about this man?" Me. And I said, "Well, if anyone would like to be president, it's yours. But if no one will take it, I will." All right. That's how I got started with the organization. Now, I'm not sure whether somehow or other the word got to the Times-Picayune about our organization, and they sent out a reporter to my house and a photographer and did a half-page story about the atheist group in New Orleans.
Oh, my.
Which didn't matter it didn't matter. I was retired from work. I never made much about being an atheist while I was employed and, a member of a lot of organizations because some people don't like us. But anyway, there was this a very friendly article with, picture. And I think that was where our first new members came from, because we just started with like 12 or 15 people. And I know at least one of our board members said, "That's how I knew about you, when I read in the Times-Picayune." But anyway, starting from that level, through these years, we now have a list of people who have contacted us and said, "Put my name on your mailing list." Of over 600, is that right?
Oh, yes. Well, it's. I mean, we have probably over like 700 or 800 who are associated with us in various things. So it could be as many as 1,000 people.
So that's a long way from the dozen or 15 that started it.
That is true.
Now, I don't know where these new people keep coming from, but people still call me up and they're interested.
Oh.
And I don't know, they may be contacting you, but our numbers still grow.
That's right. Yes, I had someone contact me from Mississippi and has heard about us. And so it's interesting when people, even at a long distance, are looking for that connection.
Yes, well, when you mentioned Mississippi, when we had to get a charter. We got, and I applied for a nonprofit status with the state of Louisiana, and got the IRS exemption 401c3. So, we're a nonprofit organization. So we were officially organized, and. So that was the beginning. Now, through the years, and we had to have a board of directors, all right? So our original board of directors from that long ago is almost still intact.
Right.
Almost all still intact. And I will say this, during my tenure as president, I could not have asked for a better board of directors.
Oh, well, that's...
Now, I had someone who had been the president of a national atheist organization who was here as a speaker, who came and addressed our organization. And she said to me, but at that point, she had been fired by her board of directors.
Yes, I'm familiar with that story.
And she said to me, "Harry, watch out for your board of directors." I have not had that problem.
No.
I don't think you're going to have the problem either.
I don't think we've had that kind of
that
problem.
is sort of my history with NOSHA.
Yes, it has been a pretty consistent and fairly stable organization, which I think, going, now that we're in our 17th year, there are a lot of organizations that I think hit certain levels of maturity that just don't have that kind of stability.
In fact, the woman I talked to you about who had been the president of a national atheist group, and came down and addressed us and was very impressed. And she said, most local atheist groups don't last this long.
That is very true.
And in fact, in New Orleans, there had been prior attempts to set up local organizations, and none of them survived.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is a testament. I think. I think hitting 15 was a milestone, and so that
Absolutely.
2 years later we're still perking along, and of course have expanded our programs and things that we offer. I mean, having this TV show is, I think, quite an amazing thing, and it's consistency. Would you like to talk
You want
about?
to know how we came to have a TV show?
Yes, please.
Well, the American Atheist Association made television programs, and I was a member, and they were looking for someone to get their programs on local public access television stations.
Okay.
So I came over here to this station to see what we had to do to get the American Atheist TV program on here. Well, this is a good organization here. In order to be a member, you have to be a resident of Orleans Parish. And if you want your organization, a nonprofit organization, to be a member, you have to your domicile has to be Orleans Parish. So I came over here to see what I had to do to get the American Atheist programs on the air. I got the application blank that I needed to do that. While I was here, I found out they had local programs. I didn't know that. And I said, "You mean we could have a show of our own?" And they said, "Well, fill out an application." They said, "We have many applications, fill one out." And so that's how, and we were accepted. And so that's how this program came about, and that was, some years ago.
Right.
But I can tell you, I have enjoyed being the host of this TV show, and I have had, obviously, over 15 years, I have had, and doing, two guests a month.
Yes.
24 a year, 15 years. I had a lot of shows and a lot of guests, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed having guests, as you're going to. After you get through with me, you're going to have other guests. You will enjoy having guests.
Yes.
So that's sort of how this television program came about.
Well, and it is quite amazing, because I know as a secular humanist organization, there's so many issues that I think we can support culturally and just societally in things that reflect our values as humanists, which I think is something that perhaps maybe we don't even push that enough, as far as talking about the programs we have as our reflecting our values in our community, and I think that's a major plus.
Well, one of the principles of humanism is that we were supposed to live life fully and enjoyably and get the most out of it, so long as we don't hurt anybody in doing it.
Right.
So guests, which I frequently had on my show, were people who in some way, personally or with their organization, contributed to a good life for people who could get advantage of what they were doing. I would have people, who were doing things that we could enjoy, people in theater and such, because one of our principles is live a good, fully rewarding life, because it's the only one we're going to have.
That's right. That is right. And I do think that as we do continue doing the show and trying to maybe expand even the way we what we want to talk about, because I know we try to support the New Orleans area, but maybe we could, even talk about. I think one thing I definitely did want to bring up, since we are here and this is our program, is what do you see as the future of non-belief and atheism here and nationally? Because we are facing a kind of a change in our society.
I am both hopeful and pessimistic. I see a great movement in Europe and in this country of people away from organized religion. And in Europe particularly, you know, they've shut down churches and cathedrals, and we're not that mature in the United States yet, but and it's particularly on the East and West Coast, there are just a lot of people who have just walked away from their churches. My attitude has been, you know, as a leader of our group, that I'm not offended by people who are religious. I'm offended by the religious leaders and the churches whose objective is to get money, squeeze money out of people,
right.
and to perpetuate themselves.
Right.
But if a person, you know, is sincerely religious, I don't try to take that away from them.
Well, and I think that is something that a lot of people are very concerned about, maybe that people think that that's what our goal is. And what's fascinating to me is religion, like so much of who we are, is private. I mean, our thoughts and our motivations and our desires and our needs really stem from individual, you know, beliefs and values. And I think a lot of people should feel stronger about that, whether you're a non-believer or whether you're religious. A religious person should have, you know, should realize it really is their private belief.
It is. Now, not everyone who goes to church on Sunday or Friday or Saturday believes in God.
Probably not.
For many of them, it's a social thing. You know, being among people, you know, whom they like.
Right.
It may be a business matter, you know, especially in the synagogue.
Right. Or even
you can make a lot of business connection. So the people who go to church aren't necessarily believers.
That is true. That is true. There's a lot of social benefit, which
Absolutely,
I think
yes.
Organizations like NOSHA definitely contribute to that, because I do believe that many of our community who are members who regularly come to things, I really believe it is an extension of their, you know, their family, so to speak. That they've met friends who have become part of their family, part of their you know, situation every day and every week, every month that they're seeing these people. And I think that's something that we sometimes don't realize, that that's an important thing we provide.
As you know, we had a couple that got married who met at NOSHA.
I would bet
You're
that,
aware
yes.
of that.
Oh, yes. And so that's
You know, it is. I consider, you know, those monthly meetings that we have, that we're all family, you know.
Right. And
we may not all like the same things, and if we have a speaker, some people may like what he says and some people may not like what the speaker says, but we have something in common.
Yes.
Now, I am concerned that, well, number one, Louisiana and New Orleans are not the most fertile ground for atheists. You know,
Probably
you go on the West Coast and the East Coast, you got a lot of non-believers there. Here we've got Catholics and Baptists. And for whatever reason, it's kind of hard for them to break away. So, you know, we don't try to take that away from them.
Right, right. Oh, yeah. And in fact, I think that is something that maybe we probably should address more as an organization, that it would be reassuring to people to say that what we're trying to do is we're trying to live our lives and believe a certain way. And we're affording everyone that opportunity. And so many people don't really see that in what we believe or do.
I'm surprised that we really don't have even more people coming around to want to be part of our group. And I occasionally have gotten calls from someone who would say, I thought I was the only one. It can be a lonely life, if you live with a religious family and you work in a place where everybody's going to church and you can't even talk about it, it can be a very lonely life.
Yes, I agree. And I do think that we are so very, I guess to use the word blessed, we are very blessed that we have what we have here. I think we are in competition with a very culturally active place, and so it's we're kind of having to fit our programs into that for people. But I do think there are people out there in small cities and towns across the country, and they do not have access to this. Either they don't have us, you know, there, or they don't have the opportunity to organize because there are few of them, and it is quite scary. And I sometimes think that we forget that those people are out there, and we wish we could reach out, even if we can't be in their town.
When you said that we are blessed,
yes,
who is blessing us?
I think for me, it's just I think we're lucky. Blessed always meant lucky.
I understand luck. That's what I didn't understand was blessing.
I know. Yes. But for some reason, the word blessed really does fit for that.
Okay.
So yeah, I do think NOSHA. I think we offer a connection that people probably would miss otherwise because they need. It's having a place to go where you belong is a huge. I mean, they've based TV shows on that, where everybody knows your name.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's one of the pluses of
and
NOSHA.
I think many of the people whom we see at our monthly meetings socialize outside of our meetings.
That is very true, definitely.
Which, they have people with like minds and enjoy their company.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that maybe people get so busy, and New Orleans has so many things to offer, from Mardi Gras cruise and festivals and all of these different things that people enjoy doing, and sometimes I worry that we can't fit in anymore, but then again, I think certainly, especially now politically, I think NOSHA and groups like NOSHA have to, we represent a different type of thought out there, and it kind of worries me that some things might get a little bit tougher for us, like separation of church and state and things like that.
Well, that, of course, the separation of church and state has been a major issue with us.
That is one of our top issues.
We have frequently worked with the ACLU because Louisiana public schools are full of religious practices. It's they've got their hands full, and so I do appreciate what they're doing, because when they do take action, then the religion in the public school ends in that school, but across the state, they just can't get to all of them.
Right, and I think that in of itself is one of our biggest, I don't want to say fights, but it feels like it is one of the biggest things that we should really be working on more. And I certainly always try to encourage the secular people in our organization to understand what government is and how they fit in it. I think a lot of people don't. I think it's in some ways kind of intimidating, and it can be scary.
Well, we do support the concept of getting religion out of government. Now, you do know that the New Orleans City Council has an invocation, a prayer. They have a preacher who does that at all of their meetings, which is unconstitutional, actually. But they have cordially allowed me to do the opening event in a non-religious way. And I have done that over the years, like 7 times. I have done the invocation at the New Orleans City Council, and I want you to know that they have been appreciative. The first time I did it, a couple of them left their seats and came over to thank me for doing it. And so when I requested, to come do the invocation, I was always accepted. And I hope that NOSHA will continue to send people to the city council and other government agencies that have invocations.
Yes, that would be something that would be so nice if more people could do that. I feel like that would certainly at least send a message that it is a diverse community, and I think a lot of people forget that because they're very much in their own mindset, and so I've always wanted more people to do that. I have been so busy with NOSHA stuff that I have never had a chance to really think about adding one more thing.
Well,
into
the
my
first
list.
time or two that I did it made the Times-Picayune. So, we just need to keep ourselves in front of the public. Because there are people who never heard of us in this city. Most of the people never heard of us, and the more we can make ourselves public, the more people may want to just say, well, look, I'm going to look into that.
One thing I did want to say was that one of your invocations has been part of a compilation of invocations that one of the national organizations put together. Like it would take parts of quite a few, and I remember thinking how moving that was because it was like fitting everyone's speech together, and it was so nice. We should try to find that again and
people in NOSHA, you should get some more people to do invocations, and if they go into the internet, they can find 100 examples.
I know,
and you can borrow from here and there and there. Nobody's going to care if you use some of their words.
That's right.
And it's not just the city council. How about the Jefferson Parish? What about?
I know. Yes, it could be
St. Tammany.
Yes, it could be any community.
Okay, well, Charlotte, you see that somebody does that.
I should try to make that my one thing for the next few months to see if one person who would like to maybe make a statement like that and just see if we could get that done. I don't know. It'd be a fascinating test. We need to run that experiment. We really
give it a shot. Now, one thing that you and other board members have done that I am not electronically literate. And you all have a lot of things going having to do with the whole new world order that I never produced such a thing because I'm really electronically illiterate, but you got some good stuff going.
We have really used social media to our advantage. I'm glad you brought that up. That'll probably be our last thing we could mention here. That Facebook and other things have really worked to our advantage, and we're even doing ads on Facebook, which was something we started this past year, and it has brought in more people. We have been very successful with that, and having a really good website that we are so lucky to have. So yes, I agree. We have definitely tried to step our game up using social media.
So I want to know, are you enjoying your presidency?
Well, it's been tough, and I guess that's a good place to end. That's all we have time for today, but thank you for joining us, and we hope you will tune in again very soon. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Sean.